This is a team that was used by Eshin during a big tournament in the Kyushu, and they managed to qualify for the biggest national tournament of Victory Road Beta in Japan. So if you want to race to the top of the ladder or go really far into a tournament, this is the team you should play. We'll see what this team is capable of, and without further ado, let's get started. Alright, how did this team manage to win a tournament at the Kyushu event? Well, there are a couple of things that Eshin used to his advantage to get the upper hand against Yoshimoto. So, he used a couple of supports that are quite generic, such as Zene, Ricardo Dirigo, Shaunfrost, and Axel Blaze. What do these players have in common? Well, they have the ability to support the team on the attack and the defensive side, their passives. And if you combine those four players, you'll have a boost of 50% of attack and defense, which is very useful to deal with multiple situations. Whenever you want to bypass their defensive block, or even stop their attempt to grab you, defend the goal against incoming shoots, or even perform very powerful shoots against the opponents. And if you use Seymour Illman during the first half, you get an additional 25% of attack, which means that you have a 75% attack during the first half, which is really great to apply a ton of offensive pressure on the opponents. And we can take advantage of these boosts to boost it with lean, and if more, with their passive after you regain the ball. If you punish a mistake made by your opponent, they made a pass, or even when you block the opponent from dribbling you, well, you pretty much get a buff from your midfielders, even boost the power of their attacks. That's why you see some attackers reaching values of K to 1.4k or even 1.3 in some cases. They usually take advantage of the fact that they gained a bit of tension and also the ball to perform an aggressive maneuver on the opponent. So that is why the ball as much as possible is key, because if you lose it and you face a really great player, they could make you regret this decision and have the chance to score against you. So other options you could use, such as Ricardo and Eric Eagle, which has the ability to perform shoots with even low cost, such as Fortissimo Foot and Spinning Shot. You also have a Sonny Wright, which can be a great support to gain as much bound power as possible to increase our attack output. We also have a really great move pool in Solo Surprise for the defense and Flash Dash for dribbling. And we have Scotty Banyan, which can provide some support for the defenders, even though it might be a little bit limited since you need to recover the ball. Same way as Lean and If More supports their midfielders, so their application might be a little bit more niche. However, they're still very good since they have a powerful shoot block in the form of a Whirlwind Force, and they also have Hey Presto as a dribble move. You also have Jack Wallside, which also have a really great shoot block in the form of the wall. Also can reinforce the castle wall by 10%. So, you know, there's really great options in the defense as well. You have Mark Evans, which is a really great goalkeeper, the Earth Element, which can also support the castle of the defenders. You know, it's pretty generic, pretty consistent, pretty easy to use. You also have Samguk Khan, which can provide a ton of bound power and also have really great special moves for the Fire Element. I know that he also have a special move that has a really low cost of in the form of Combustion Catch. I know that for a very long time it was kind of underrated. As the meta developed, Samguk-Han became a really great option to deal with wood element attackers, and it also has a neutral matchup against most attackers in the game, such as Frost, which is mainly used as a counter to Mark Evans thanks to his legendary wall, for Bailong, which can use Dragon Drive to put a ton of pressure on Mark Evans. However, it does get countered by Dark Avalonic, which is one of the primary options as a Earth attacker. Pretty strong, he hits hard, and you know, there's nothing else to say about Zanark. He's pretty good to deal with the fire element goalkeepers such as Samguk and Valin. Could argue that Ifmore has some advantages by owning a special move such as Royal Lancer. It is not as obvious as Zanark, since Ifmore is a fire attacker. Royal Lancer can help against those kind of matchups. You have Xene, which is pretty strong, and I've also seen him be used as an intermediate attacker during chain shoots before you hit towards third attacker. You know, so for example, you would make a pass with an attacker such as Ifmur or Zanark Avalonic in this position, then you would move to Xene, and then finally you would move to Frost if you deal with Mark Evans. Or you could start the shoots from this position, then pass it to Erikigol, and finally make a pass to Xene or Frost, depending on the situation. So overall, you have a pretty great team. Some persons might be intrigued by the inclusion of Darren Lachance. I know that he has some passives that can help defenders once the ball is recovered. However, this last passive is a bit more difficult to use, and the problem is that the opponent receives the ball, they'll get the opportunity to build some tension to special moves afterwards, you know, get really powerful shoots, and by then it's way too late. They already scored. So I would argue that you could use some options to replace him. I know that you could use options such as Nathan, which can help build the castle wall. I know that you could use rogue options such as Zoan to further boost the bound power and benefit from the use of steroid belts. Or you could bring other midfielders are really good to support bound power. I've also seen some players that were using Tsunami in order to gain some focus when they try to avoid the interaction by passing the ball to another opponent. So if they try to get a little bit passive, you can get some resources here and there. And you can also get resources when you win a focus or a scramble. So there's a ton of options that could replace Darren in general. But, you know, overall this team is pretty good. Without further ado, let's move to a couple of matches. Okay, so this replay was made back when I tried to make some live commentary, but unfortunately, in this particular match, I was in a situation where I was a bit distracted because there was a ton of lag during the whole experience, so it pretty much disturbed all the plans I had to make. But this would be a great example of, wait, how do we deal with situations where the connection is not the best, you might have some delays that would mess it up. So the kind of team they're using is, you know, a bunch of a mixed bag. There are a couple of supports that have some improvements. I see that from the replay they used Xavier and Nosaka to boost their attack, and this will be pretty important because I had a ton of trouble dealing with this opponent. So I made some passes in order to build some bomb, and unfortunately, I made the mistake of passing the ball to Lean, which allowed them to get to Rumble battle. And you have to keep in mind that in Rumble, you have probability of success. And if you fail, well, unfortunately, this is pretty much my fault. This shouldn't have happened. And you might wonder, oh, how did they manage to score a goal? Well, their strategy was to get into the penalty zone really deep, and then they would pass the ball to one of their attackers, and basically I reacted too late, so pretty much they managed to take advantage of the fact that I didn't move my goalkeeper soon enough to make the pass, want to shoot, and then they scored without even interacting with my goalkeeper. So that is something you have to keep in mind where you're facing certain players. And here I made some passes in order to build up some bond to reinforce the shoot. I dealt warfare 3/4 of their goalkeeper's health. Okay, so they made a couple of passes, and due to the lag, there's a bit of latency. So, the game doesn't match the current actions of my player with the rituals. And then I recognized that they make a way to, in this situation, I tried to counter their initiative to pass the ball, then more shoots, but unfortunately I was really far away. So again, I was countered by the strategy for a second time. So here I'm a bit frustrated because keep the ball, then try to stall as much as possible. I tried to score with the arc, but there's a ton of inaccuracy, and that's why we need a good connection. I remember there was a time where, during the first 2 months lag that was reported, and it even came to the point where if you were European and you fought against a Japanese player, you had a ton of latency because the netcode was completely trash. Okay, so they committed a fool, which allowed us to gain bound power, effective defensive of our players in the field. And we're making a couple of passes. The field is completely wide open. We're performing a shoot, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm scoring the first goal of the first half. Congratulations, Zanark, you're really good. Okay, so we are moving to the part of the first half, and you can see that the lag is really horrendous. And I'm taking advantage of that, by matching the step pattern, because I thought, well, if this game is so laggy, I might have a great chance to act before they do. And that's what happened. Then they got greedy again with their tackles. So pretty much I'm trying to take advantage of their misplay in order to shoot, and for some reason the pass didn't succeed. So this is how like can impact the quality of a gameplay, because you are not really aware of where the players are located on the ground. Far away. I thought that I had the advantage of the side defense, but apparently he got a side boot stop defense. So due to the fact that I recovered the ball, so they might have some passes that will boost their goalkeeper. So here I'm trying to think on how to deal with their team for the second half. So I brought Bailong in order to deal with Mark Evans, and basing on the assumption that since their bench was completely weak compared to their players on the field, I thought, okay, Mark Evans is the strongest player, so I might as well bring the strongest counter to Mark Evans, which are currently Sean Frost and Bailong. And I'm thinking, I'm considering some
監督の采配でフィールドがどう変わるか。
benefit from different passes. They made the change from Ater to Jean-Pierre Lapin, but I didn't know why they did
さあ
that.
後半戦始まりました。
But yeah, despite the horrendous conditions, I was trying my best as possible to build some tension, try to
行かせるか。
block their attacks. This is an
ど
example
こを守るか。
how too much latency can cause some issues.
そうきましたか。
Apparently, they were a bit AFK. I think they were afraid that I would catch the ball anyway. So we are taking advantage of this situation to build up a bit of power. We're making a couple of passes. We're passing the ball to Xiao. And we're trying to score during the second half. Okay, will this succeed? Yes, exactly.
さあ防げるか。
This is looking pretty good. At this stage of the game, I was like, okay, maybe I can bring this back. But in this situation, if I really want to win, I would be pretty much forced to play perfectly. But the problem is that,
またもや
yeah,
攻め込まれたぞ。
there was a ton of lag.
ここでさあ防げるか。 任せろ頼む。
And I hope that in the full version of the
どう
game,
対処するか。
brings
亀山守備に入る。おおそうきましたか。
give less penalties to act during the match, and yeah,
決まってしまった。
yes, I
さあ追いつけるか。任せろ。
I wasn't sure
行け。
what I should have reacted, because but nonetheless, we must continue the whole thing. And I was trying to set up an attack. Maybe I should have shot the ball directly towards the opponent. But no worries. Okay.
ゴーエンジンボールを奪いに行く。
Defense.
得点につなげられるか。
I'm setting up a Shin Dairy Wolf. I'm going to pass it to Sene. Then I'm going to use Ichigo Blade and pass the ball to Bailong, which will definitely by a great amount. So we got Ichigo Blade. The field is wide open. My opponent has a very low chance to block the shoot. We reach 2.6k. Will Mark Evans be able to stop it? Yes. Great. So a couple of time to
ここから逆転という
bring the advantage back to the side. Okay, so our opponent is trying to bypass.
振り切られた。そうきましたか。任せろ。よし守備体勢を整えられるか。
Block it thanks to tackle. If I made the full, then it would have been pretty bad. So all of a passive related to attack.
さあ後半終了目前。
So
パスで相手を
making
翻
some
弄していきます。
passes. The players are definitely
これはどちら
teleporting
に。
seats. It's pretty wild. there was a ton of back and forth. And, you know, it was still interesting despite the fact that and, you know, overall, it's pretty great. There's some tension. We don't know who's going to win. You know, I'm trying my best to keep the tie. The ball got out of the field while Jackal side was tackling the opponent. Their normal shoot set up once again. Then I'm moving my goalkeeper. And will I manage to maybe this will be very difficult. I'm using God Hand. I'm not taking a risk. Then we succeeded. We managed to get off God Hand. Overall, we tied. You know, overall, it was pretty good from DarkVale, and I'm pretty satisfied on how the you know, it was pretty rough in general to deal with this opponent, considering what I said previously. But, you know, if I'm counting the shots, I made 8 shots, and I won 3 focus battle, while my opponent made 4 shots, and they won 6 focus battle. So if we were in the situation where the tie would have been dealt by a bot, you know, maybe we would have had an idea of who won based on different stats. But unfortunately, since I was playing during a ranked match, well, if there's a tie, and you get in at least 10 points. So it's better than nothing. Okay, so without further ado, we'll move to the second match. If you liked this video, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm Kira, and I make a ton of videos related to Inazuma 11 games, so you can become a better player on Victory Road. I made guides, match analysis, and even some team showcases. Your help will be definitely appreciated, and without further ado, let's get back into the video. Here is our second match. If I remember correctly, I was fighting against a player that was at the same rank as my account, which was called Pokepika D2. Yeah, it was Pokepika D2. I remember this match correctly because it seems that it was one of the matches where I lost to 5-0. But I want to show it to you because I feel it would be a great example of what not to do, and also how a great player can use a team that is similar to mine. As you notice, there's a couple of players that my opponent was using, such as Ifmore and Xavier. So they're pretty much using the passives that would boost their attack if they receive the ball. So, you know, it would be a situation where you would have to be very careful about how you control the possession of your ball, and this is probably one of the first mistakes I made. Passes that are very inaccurate and interact with the opponent's players. Okay, so here I'm trying to fortunately I managed to get upper hand from the offensive. However, this is where everything goes south. So the dribble speed, and they also get attack. I think this situation should use the tactic in order to boost up which is pretty big, and considering the element and voltage they pretty much managed to get rid of more than former shoot, and then yeah, you know, I made a greedy play by passing the ball towards Asto, where, you know, it was completely it was pretty greedy since there was another player that was here. So now I'm trying to go back, and then I make a mistake. And since they know my patterns, I managed to pass my defense successfully. And yeah, this is pretty bad overall. They're not making any misplays, while on my end, I'm making a ton. Be corrected. We are at half of the first part of the match, and they're already scoring 2 goals. So, at this moment I was a bit frustrated, but, at this point, the only thing I could do is to, set up slowly and surely my players, by making some passes. I make a pass to him, then, okay. I don't know what I'm not making the maybe I was afraid to get some tension by stealing the ball and not making any mistakes. Pretty solid in their play. Take advantage of the gap I left. They have pretty great values overall. I have some that would boost. I tried to exploit this side of Jack since it was really far away compared to his body. However, it wasn't enough, and the breach wasn't necessary. It would have scored anyway. And overall, the only thing I could do is to stall a bit, try to find weaknesses in their formations. But as you can see, one of the reasons why I got in such a dire situation is because I tried to make passes where my opponent could intercept me or provoke a focus interaction. And since they had really great values, I would have been forced to either, try to bait them or, gamble on a certain direction or another, to try to find out if there's any pattern that would take them off guard and allow me to gain some tension. So hopefully they're making some passes in order to build up some tension. I'm wondering if the formation if they had the perfect formation to counter mine, and would have probably had to make some adjustments, prevent them from making some passes, reacted a bit earlier. Fortunately, I was at the right position.
ここはパスが通らない。 油断したか。
Unfortunately, I ran out of time. I sold the interaction too much. And they're smart. They don't need to make unnecessary which might indicate that they have attention. Or they might think that and if they lose the ball, it wouldn't have mattered. They would have found a way to stop me, and they scored a fourth goal. So, it's a really great example of how a team could be used at high level play. And when you face those players, it can be very difficult to determine what patterns they will use.
ここでシュートを打っていく
Or pop attacks.
守備に入る
Oh,
高円寺
yeah,
防げるか
unfortunately,
カーの手に収まりました
attack from this position. If I used a dash attack, I could have taken some space in order to avoid the interaction with the opposing defenders. And you know, at this moment, I was like, okay, I'm already losing, so I'll attempt
守備体勢を整えられるか
other maneuvers.
そうきましたか
That's how I can,
稲森守備連動難なく止めていきます
you know, was a bit too late.
頼んだぞ
Holding positions
任せとペコシ
formations safely.
任せろ緊張が走るここでゴールを狙うそうきましたか
At the, they were also placed
収まりま
really
した
well.
頼んだぞ
That was they used the defense in a great way, you know, by
ゴールのことは心配するな
Axel Blaze. Now they're setting up. You know, at this point they
どこ
don't.
を守るか
There's a big score gap. So, you know, what they can only do is to play safe.
さあ防げる
You
か
know, because if they take any risk, I might score. So
任せとペコシ
there's not enough time for me left.
さあ後半終了目前
Trying to, you know, transfer the ball from one player to another. But however, you know, this is the reason they kept it. They kept some tension in order to strike at a moment where I would be the most vulnerable. And
守備に入
with
る
that,
決ま
they managed to reach the S rank by scoring a 5-0. You know, if you don't know, in Inazuma Eleven games, you had an S rank when you scored 5 goals without getting scored once by the
任
opponent.
せちゃ
任せろ
And they managed to do that. And you know, you clearly see that I'm panicking.
またもや攻め込まれたぞ攻撃はまだだが
That fight chess play. They used their focus correctly.
頼もしい
Didn't make any mistakes, and this is how they got their clean 5-0. You know, if you manage to
これは
play
悔
the
しい
life
結果で
of
すです
Kipika,
が選手全
you,
員ナイスプ
you
レーを見せ
could
てくれま
reach
した
the top
リベンジ
level
に
of
期
a
待
big
したいですね
tournament. You know, just like Eshin. Without further ado, let's move to the analysis. There's something I'd like to analyze. Okay, so I'd like to take a look at the teams that were brought to the finals during the 3 regionals that were organized by Level 5, which is the 10th of August Kyushu Regional, the Kansai Regional, which happened at around the 11th of August, and finally the Kanto Regional, which happened a few hours ago. And as I'm recording, there's a regional that is planned for the Hokkaido qualification. However, since this hasn't happened yet, we'll only analyze those lists that were brought during the 3 tournaments so far. Okay, so we are going to bring the slideshow. Okay, so we have the list of Yoshimoto 1300, which brought a variation of the team that Eshin brought up during the Kyushu finally, with some rogue options such as Zoen, which is an alternative to, you know, Asato, since it has a shoot block, and it can also provide a boost to the bound power increase. And we also have, as another alternative for midfielder, Iso, which has the shoot block spinning cuts. And she can also have a signature move that is Northern Impact, which is not that used since she's mostly played as an defensive midfielder. So overall, there's not a lot of changes compared to what Eshin did. So we'll move to the next team, which were brought by Futa which was brought by Futa during the okay. And we'll move to this list, which was brought by Futa during the Kansai tournament, if I'm not mistaken. He brought an interesting option that is Jordan Greenway. Which is an equivalent of Arya Shenwind, with the exception that instead of a heartbeat, you would have it's either plasma cut or lightning axle, and